Hey guys, so I'm making this video so that I can recap and reiterate things that are important about the first lab exam that's coming up on Tuesday night, and so that everybody has access to hearing me say some of the things I've said in lab. Lab is hectic and I answer a question here, but maybe you don't hear it if you're across the room. So I'm going to recap some important announcements I've made and some of the important coaching that I've given in the lab, and then I'm going to reinforce as specifically as I can without giving you all the without giving you the test, what you need to know for the test. And I'm going to also type this up in a document that you can read in case you don't have time or you don't want to watch a video about this. So the lab exam is going to cover Chapter 1, is going to cover Chapter 4, and it's going to cover Chapter 5. Chapter 1 is the organization of the body plan, and Chapter 4 is tissues or histology, and Chapter 5 is integumentary system. In Chapter 1, there is a lab handout about Chapter 1 on Blackboard. It includes slides that have diagrams. Some are labeled and some are not. Anything in those slides is fair game. We've talked about it quite a bit. And any of that information, I'm going to ask you to apply to a model, like a skeleton, where I might point out on the upper limb of a skeleton two structures, A and B, and I might say structure A is blank to structure B. I'm not going to say the humerus is blank to the ulna because we haven't gone over it yet. So it's only going to cover material that you are familiar with that we've talked about so far. Even though many of you could do that, I'm only going to put on there what we've talked about in class. So directional terms, planes like sagittal, transverse, and frontal. I'm not going to get into parasagittal and midsagittal. It's going to be planes that split the body right down the middle in either direction. You'll notice that there's some scans on that handout, like MRIs and CAT scans. I'm not going to quiz you on scans, but I might show you a slice. And it's going to be a slice that looks like the body. You're going to know what it is. It might be a slice through the head where you can see the brain and the nose and the mouth. And I might ask you to say, this slice is a sagittal section. Let's see. Planes. Serous membranes of those three cavities, thoracic, pericardial, and abdominal cavity. Pleura, pericardium, peritoneum, and then the two layers of each. Parietal and visceral, parietal and visceral, parietal and visceral. I might have some models or some pictures. I might have a balloon with a hand being shoved into it. That's going to be something that you've seen from those slides. It's going to be things that we've gone over. Abdominal regions, there's the 4 quadrants, and then there's the tic-tac-toe board that has 9 regions. So it's quadrants and there's regions. I might put a sticker on a model, and if I put a sticker on a model asking about a region, it's going to have the tic-tac-toe pattern and the sticker there so that you know that a sticker up here is referring to the left hypochondriac region rather than the left upper quadrant. If I'm asking you to say left upper quadrant, it's going to have a grid like this, and the sticker will be up here, and you'll know my answer is going to be quadrant, not region. Okay? Tissue. This is the tough part. I know it's challenging. You guys have done awesome, but let me say a couple things about it. There are 18 types of tissues that I'd like you to be able to recognize just from looking at it. They're on that handout But just to recap, because I've modified it a little bit, I'm going to list them, and then I'm going to update it on Blackboard. I don't know if this is going to work. That's not going to work. So I'm going to list them. Hopefully this sounds familiar, and then it'll be on Blackboard as well. But it's simple squamous epithelium, stratified squamous epithelium, simple cuboidal epithelium, simple columnar epithelium, pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium, blood, areolar connective tissue, reticular tissue, adipose tissue, hyaline cartilage, dense regular collagenous, dense irregular collagenous, and that's it. We're eliminating elastic. We're eliminating dense, regular, elastic. Because if you remember, to me, they look too similar to ask you to distinguish from. Compact bone and spongy bone, skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, and neuron. That should be 18. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay? You're going to have another list, an updated list. All right? These study guides and what I'm telling you is on the test is fluid, as you're noticing. That's the importance of coming to class and paying attention. It's the importance of keeping an eye on Blackboard for videos and announcements like this, because I'm doing these things to maximize the fairness and maximize your chance of success. I'm trying to not leave things on there that we didn't talk about, or things that I think are beyond the scope of this course, and it's going to change as we go. It's going to be based on our time together, and that's why I can't always predict it and just put all the slides up there now and all the study guides up there now. I'm tailoring this to what we've done is what I'm trying to say. Finally, skin. We haven't really gone over skin in the lab yet, so I don't want anybody to freak out about this, but there's a lab handout about skin, hair, and nails, and it's got lists of structures that I'm going to want you to know. I might take away some of those things after Monday if we don't get to them. If you've never heard of it, and if we've never gone through it together in the lab, you know, there as a lab in a group, it's not going to be on the test. And if there's ever anything going to be on the test that I know we didn't go over, it's going to be abundantly clear to you, because I'm going to make an announcement in class. It's going to be on Blackboard. You have to read this. We didn't get to it. I will let you know, but there's not going to be anything like this on lecture or lab exam 1. There's not going to be things on lecture and lab exam 1 that we haven't gone over together in person. That's not on the handouts. There might be things on the handouts that's not on the test, but it's not going to be vice versa. There's not going to be things on the test that aren't on the handouts for lab and lecture exam 1. In the future, that might be the case, but I will tell you very clearly in person and in writing on Blackboard if that's the case. For tissue, remember, it's going to be fill in the blank, and the answers are the headings in the book. The answers are what I just said, and the answers are where they're going to be on the, on this handout. I know it's a little confusing that the slides are labeled differently than the actual names of the tissue, but just remember that we are using the names in the textbook to answer the question. So the answer to the question is never going to be white fibrous or fibrous white. I know it says it on the slide. Those slides say all sorts of stuff, but they're all referring to dense, regular, collagenous connective tissue. The safest, best bet to get the question right is to write down the name of the tissue that's on the heading in the book. So an example is stratified squamous epithelium. It tells the layer, it tells the shape, and it tells the type of tissue. Compact bone. It tells the type of tissue, and it tells, and it differentiates between the two specific types. It's acceptable to say compact bone, it's acceptable to say spongy bone, but it's not enough to say simply bone. There's not going to be partial credit on these. The reason I'm doing it this way is because there's labels in the book that you guys have had to study, and they're called compact bone. As a side note, if you look at page 125, it says compact bone. You could also say compact bone supporting connective tissue. And that's true. It's extra information. You're not going to get extra points. What you said is correct. If you said compact bone epithelial tissue, the whole thing is wrong. And I think you guys will understand why that's wrong. But if you're going to put something on there, you got to make sure it's right. But if you put down the headings that are in this textbook, then you know you're naming it correctly. You can't call something striated muscle. It's not specific enough because there's two kinds of striated muscle. Skeletal and cardiac muscle are both striated. The heading of the book is skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, smooth muscle. Okay. My exception to this is you can write neuron. I'm going to show you a multipolar neuron, but you can write neuron, and that's enough. Okay. I'm going to have all this in a Word document, but I just wanted to reiterate a couple things that I've told people in class just in case, so everyone has equal access to it. The other thing I want to say is a layer, I mean, that's probably enough said about it. I could beat the dead horse all day long. So let me summarize it this way. When you're naming these tissues, learn them and recognize them and name them according to the heading in your textbook, and you know you'll be safe. Spelling does not count. What I mean by that is, if you spell something incorrectly, but it's obvious to me that I know what you're trying to say, you will get it correct. And you just have to trust that I'm on your side, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt in any way that I can. As a matter of fact, if you write something and I can't read it, I'm going to connect with you and find out what it says. It's just, I'm erring on the side of your benefit. You know, some professors would say, this is illegible, I can't read it, tough luck. That's not how we're doing things. About skin, there are structures listed on the handouts that I posted on Blackboard. You know, you can study those this weekend, especially the ones we've already gone over in lecture and in lab, especially the ones that, you know, in the skin. There's some parts of hair and nail that we might cut out. So just, you gotta come to class on Monday and we'll see. By the end of Monday, everything will be finalized. Hair and nail are the only two things really that are left. But if it's anything, I'll remove something to make it a little easier on you. I won't add anything that's not already there. What else to say about it? I'll be checking the microscopes periodically during the test to make sure they're still in the correct place. I can't guarantee that someone won't move it before you see it, but I'm going to be watching people. I'm going to be periodically doing spot checks to make sure they're all still in the right place. If something doesn't look right to you, just call me over and say, is this it? And if I look in it and say, that's it, okay, that's it. But it's always okay to check before you answer. And then I'll tell you more about how things are going to be timed and how things are going to move through on Monday and Tuesday. Monday we'll wrap everything up, and Tuesday will be a review day. And then the other thing I'll say is I'm going to be there on Monday and Tuesday from 12:30 p.m. until class at 5. The lab will be empty, and I will be there. If you guys want to come in and study and review and talk about stuff, if you want to ask me questions, or if you want to be left alone, either way, you can be in there and do what you need to do to review and get ready for Tuesday night's lab exam, which is happening from 7 to 8:40 at night. Email me with questions this weekend. You guys are going to be fine.